This was the fifth meeting that I've had with my Chinese counterpart, the Vice Premier, Hu Lifeng, and we covered a wide range of issues, and I think we've reached a substantial framework for the two leaders who will meet in Korea next Thursday. So, on the table, the president had given me maximum leverage when he threatened 100% tariffs if the Chinese imposed their rare earth global export controls. So I think we have averted that, so that the tariffs will be averted. And we have a regular quarterly meeting with the Chinese. It was scheduled for November 10th. Or before November 10th. I don't think we will have to have that. So we have been rolling the tariffs quarterly. So we agreed on that. We also agreed on substantial agriculture purchases for U.S. farmers. We agreed that the Chinese would begin to help us with the precursor chemicals for this terrible fentanyl epidemic that's ravaging our country. So I would say that it was a very good meeting overall.
Well, a happy Monday, first of all, to each and every one of you. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. The cryptocurrency market's perking up. And of course, there we have Besant talking about essentially a deal with China. And a couple of Fridays ago, we saw the largest ever liquidation event to grace the cryptocurrency space, or to plague it, I should say. There was no grace in it. And essentially that was tipped, or we were tipped into that via a series of tweets in regards to escalation with China from Trump. And ultimately now we're getting the resolve to it. And I think the markets are going to like this. We've got a heavy earning week ahead of us. You've got pretty much the biggest companies in the United States, their earnings are this week. I'm more positive on that than negative. We also have the Fed rate decision, and we have the potential squashing of the China-US trade war. We also potentially have the reopening of the government. And I think across the board, when we look at the crypto space, of course, we're super bullish on it. And I think the bears are about to get completely wrecked again. I actually think you're entirely going to retrace the few Fridays ago's events of the liquidations, if that makes sense. I'm trying to get my words out there. And it's pretty interesting, everything that's going on. But this is huge. This is from CNBC. Global stocks rally as investors are upbeat on the US-China trade pact process. Rupert Thompson. Shout out to my boy Rupert. We're a rare breed. There aren't many of us out there. Rupert's chief economist at iBoss said the latest trade news was the main driver for Monday's global rally. Pre-markets were up last night. Industrial, technology and mining stocks, three industries often seen as particularly sensitive to global trade tensions, were amongst the biggest gainers. I think I can derive a bullish narrative from commodities. I think a lot of them are going to break out. I'm looking at copper right now. I'm looking at soybeans. I'm looking at a lot of commodities. You can drive a bullish narrative for the stock market based on them. I'm going to do that for the Patrons. If you haven't considered becoming a Patreon, today's the day. Things are about to start heating up, guys. Go and check that out. Link in the description. Become a member. Catch up with last night's meeting. We really talk about the 1998 playbook and the 2024 playbook from the Fed and how that impacted markets. I will touch on that towards the end. But this is really good news and the market should appreciate from it. Here we have China top trade negotiations reach consensus with the US. China top trade negotiator talked about tariffs and export controls. China top trade negotiator will exchange communications with the US. This is all good, and the White House out here tweeting Trump as a halo figure. I mean, it's a bizarre world that we live in, but a great one. I think this is going to be pretty bullish for the markets, and I do think the crypto markets are going to entirely engulf the pullback that we saw on the largest ever liquidation event in history, larger than FTX, larger than March 2020, to the tune of orders of magnitude, multiples, 10 times plus. And this is going to be a big week, and I do want to talk about that because, of course, on Wednesday, you do have the Fed cutting interest rates. According to the CME, there's a 96% probability this is going to happen. It's a heavy earning week. I'll leave that for maybe tomorrow's video when the earnings kick off. There's no earnings, or there are a few, but no significant earnings today. Now, the last two times, so we've got a very bullish outlook on the S&P. We believe it's in a new bull market, and we continue to get validated on that. Regardless of all the headlines and the things thrown at us and people getting suckered in. People are so fearful. They see headlines and they believe them. And I'm here to say, okay, there's always an element of truth in things, but you know they're there to sell headlines. So our assessment is the S&P 500 is in a new bull market, having had a bear market. Bear market technically defined as a 20+% pullback. every time you've engulfed that, the markets have gone on to rally. The past 9 times, going all the way back to the past 50 years. Now, within the 50-year period, there's only 2 similar setups from a sort of interest rate point of view as far as the Federal Reserve is concerned. One of those is 19. I'll show you this very quickly. I did a lot more detail with my Patreons yesterday. One of those is 1998. So 1998, the Fed had paused interest rates and then they had cut into the back end of the year. This caused like a 30%. I better have this correct. I'm not sure it was 30%. That sounds a bit outrageous. But yeah, this caused like a 30% rally into the back end of 1998. And actually 2004 was the only other time that they had done this. You can see here, 2004, they start to cut into the back end and it caused this rally in the stock market. We've had our bear market and now they're about to or are doing the exact same thing that's happened in these previous 2 years. And you've got the most sort of bullish months for the S&P ahead of you. Now, crypto should really benefit from that. And I think if we look at Bitcoin, we looked at what John Bollinger had to say about it's time to start paying attention to Bitcoin. We're absolutely expecting continuation. The bears are going to be 100% wrong again. We fought them here, 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 and here. And every single pullback, we've just said, look, this is setting up continuation. And we've got so many technical targets for Bitcoin to go higher. Your total market cap's on the cusp of breaking out into price discovery, excluding Bitcoin, and we think that's a damn good reason to be bullish. And I think your leading alts are literally going to entirely engulf. Let's, what have we got? Coinbase, Bitstamp. We don't want Bitstamp. Let's use Binance, perhaps. Your leading alts are going to entirely engulf, I believe, the pullback that we've had, and I think they're breaking out of that. I think these have, we had this sort of large liquidation event. You can see this big wick. This is going to set up continuation pattern and squeeze to the upside. And you're going to entirely engulf that. And what message is that going to send? Remember, you've got this really bullish backdrop taking place. And I think there's a number of companies that I looked at with the Patreons yesterday that I think, this could be a good earnings season. We're going to have a good week, I think. What happens with the government and as that relates to crypto in the United States is still to be seen. I don't really know too much about that. I'm not following that closely, but I think your major alts, look at HBAR, for example. I've probably got it on a different chart, I would say. These are all breaking out and about to sort of entirely engulf the 60+% pullbacks that they had. And this is crypto. You've got to be in it to win it. Don't try and time the markets. Try and be in them and understand the broader trend, and that is to the upside. You look at XLM, you look at XRP, for example. It's literally about to entirely engulf the issues that we've just faced. Where's my chart on this? Okay, we'll just do it manually. You can see what I'm looking at here. I mean, this is going to recover the entire pullback. Now, what kind of a message is that going to send? How's that going to make the bears feel? I've also said that the kind of max pain post this liquidation event is absolutely to the upside, not the downside. And we think that's very much what you're on the cusp of getting. The stage really is set. So great news in regards to the US-China trade potential deals. I think the markets are going to, if you look at the pre-markets, they're doing quite well. You've got a lot of talking about the markets, company earnings. I think we're seeing more positive things than we're going to see negative out of that. I think that the Fed lowering interest rates, if it's to follow, and the only times in the past 50 years they've done what they're about to do in a similar manner, cutting into the back end of the year after pausing, is again 2024, and look what happened to the stock market when they did those cuts, and 1998. And actually that playbook is going to see the markets do very well in the most bullish time for the markets, the back end of the year, at a time when you've got all these great things sort of happening. And I think when it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, it's truly a duck. And we're very bullish. So it's going to be interesting to see how the markets open. Our overarching thesis on the S&P is that it's now in a bull market. And we continue to get confirmation and reasoning that supports that. We continue to get price action that supports that. NASDAQ new high on Friday's close, S&P new high, Friday close, so on and so forth. We're going to continue to see that. It's a matter of time before the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, smashes into price discovery. And ultimately, I think we've really not seen an alt season yet. And the bad news is that, but the good news is also that in regards to I still think that's very much to come. And we are going to have an alt season, and you shall see brighter days. And I don't want anybody to be left out of that. We very zealously came out against leverage traders pre this event. If you're a successful leverage trader and you can prove it, you are a real star, truly. It's not an easy thing to do. I've watched some of the best technical minds I've ever met fail miserably at it and wreck people as a result of it. But I believe 98% of people that say they're leverage traders are false prophets, and ultimately only ever lead people to pain and misery. And I don't think it's a good way to make money, and I'm very much against it. And I want people to benefit from this broader movement that is crypto. And I think the best way to do that is via investing, not leverage trading, where you can lose all your money, and it frequently does happen. I think you're going to make enough money, in my own personal opinion, not financial advice, just through being sat in the right assets that are going to play a role in this kind of transformational technology. That's it from me, ladies and gents. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you all in tomorrow's daily market update.